You have to be writing very good music, top quality music that can be released on a record label that people would play. That's the bare minimum that you have to do.
What is up, guys? Welcome to the EDMProd episode 34. My name is Sam Matler. I'm your host, and today I'm talking with Noah Neiman. Now, Noah came on the show during episode 21. I believe it was episode 21. And we had a great chat, and you guys loved it. Noah is a doctor full-time, and he makes music on the side. But he's a really good producer, and he's pretty well known. So I thought I'd get him back on just because we had a great chat the first time. He's done quite a bit since the last episode, released a few tracks, and we talk about those, and we also talk about a few other things, including how to get through the last 10% of a track, how to approach other producers specifically for collaborations, how to get better at arrangement and why it's easy to do so. We also talk about being realistic, and this is going to be controversial, I think, because there's a lot of talk out there about, you can make it full-time as a musician, follow your dreams, all that kind of stuff. And Noah says, stay in college, get a good degree, and he explains why. So that's near the end. Make sure you listen to the whole episode so you hear that. We also talk about his latest release, Toldja So, which is coming out on Revealed Recordings this week. So make sure to check that out. Now, just before we get into the show, I want to talk about something that's happening next week on the 29th. The 28th for most people. 29th New Zealand time. So July last year, I launched a book called The Producer's Guide to Workflow and Creativity, an ebook. And it was all about how to overcome creative block, make more music, all that kind of stuff. And a ton of people have got value out of that book. And next week, on the 29th, I'm launching the second edition. Now, the second edition is not just an update or an edited version with a few extra words in it. It's a completely new book written from the ground up. It's taken a long time, but it had to be done. I personally think it is 10 times better than the first edition, but I'm a little bit biased. Anyway, that's coming out next week. If you struggle with creative block, you want to finish more music, you want to work faster, get more done, you want to learn how to collaborate with people, or you simply want to be more creative and come up with better ideas, this is the book for you. Like I said, next week on the 29th. Really excited to share it with you, and I'll be sending more information out about that via email, so keep an eye out for that. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can tweet me at EDMProd on Twitter, or comment on this episode on SoundCloud or edmprod.com. Peace. This episode is brought to you by EDM Foundations. EDM Foundations is my course for new producers, those who've been producing for under 12 months, or even those who've just started. The whole idea of the EDM Foundations course is that you learn the fundamentals of music production by actually doing and not just learning the theoretical stuff. The course consists of over 12 hours worth of streamable video, where I walk you through the creation of 3 songs and give you advice and tips for working on your own original alongside them. We've had over 500 people sign up for this course. Many of them have had great results. If you want to learn more about the course, head over to edmfoundations.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the EDM podcast. Today I'm with Noah Neiman. Again, the second episode we've done. Noah, it's been a while.
Yes, sir.
What have you been up to?
Not much, man. Just writing these tunes, I guess. Doing the doctor thing, and I just got back from Croatia. It was totally a holiday trip. There's no DJing or anything like that involved, but it's a gorgeous place. If anybody gets an opportunity to go out there, be sure to take it, because it was unbelievable. I mean, I did not picture Croatia looking the way that it looks. And there's a surprisingly good wine industry there. I had no idea. I didn't even know that they made wine over there, but it's probably some of the best wine I've ever had.
Yeah, I saw some photo on your Instagram with all these wine glasses sitting on the table.
Yeah, there was like probably like 50 wine glasses. No, we were there for about 2.5 weeks, and there was literally not 24 hours that went by where we didn't have at least one bottle.
One bottle?
Oh yeah, whole bottle.
Wow.
Yeah, so for 24, 2.5 weeks, bottle a day at least.
At least.
And it's always some beer and it's kind of sprinkled in there too. So,
of course.
I've got a good amount of working out ahead of me to lose all that useless carbohydrate baggage.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people listening, I mean, I don't think we'll go into your background in depth because we've done that in the first episode, which was, oh my goodness, episode 20. I'm looking on SoundCloud right now. I wish I could remember.
You know better than me, man.
Episode 21.
21. All right. Good old 21. Drinking age.
Wow. Well, it's 18 over here.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
See, us Americans, we can't handle it, man.
I'm sure people start earlier than 21 though.
Well, let's just say that I know somebody who has.
So yeah, episode 21. If you haven't heard of Noah before and you're listening to this, go listen to episode 21 first and then listen to this one because it'll make a lot more sense. But the gist of it, if you're not going to do that, like you're too lazy to skip back or you just can't be bothered, Noah is a doctor as well as a producer, a highly successful producer at that. So how many hours do you sleep per night? Actually, get the full 18.
I need to get it. Well, I mean, it depends, but yeah, it's close to that. It's between 6 and 8 hours a night. I'm like, I used to not do that when I was younger. I was like, sleeps for the week.
Yeah.
If I need to be laying down with my eyes shut when I can be doing something productive. But as I've gotten a little bit older, it's kind of like crept up on me. I mean, it's surprising too because you don't think it'll happen. But it most certainly does. And it's just like, man, I don't want to do anything right now. I just want to sleep.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just got back from Croatia and I'm still kind of on Croatian time. So right now it's like 2 a.m. for me.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's 8 o'clock right now in the US, but like
it feels like 2.
Yeah. So it's not it's not, I mean, whatever. I guess just kind of get used to it.
Yeah, of course. It's interesting. I feel like a lot of producers actually have, the younger ones especially, have that mindset of, sleep can wait. Like I saw some guy on Facebook the other day bragging about how he got 5 hours of sleep. It makes, I think it makes you less creative. Like you just can't think at a reasonable level when you're sleep deprived.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that there's like a sort of like a maybe an inverted U curve where you kind of like you can only deal with so much or with so little sleep, and then once it gets to a certain point, like you call it kind of like start falling off, and your concentration is off. You're starting to feel a little groggy, and you might try and fight it, but the creative process. You're right, yeah, it just doesn't happen for you. Like it's funny though because I was watching an interview with Steve Aoki, and that guy says that he gets like 2 hours of sleep a day.
Really?
And his day is full as shit. He's got like 4 or 5 different businesses, or he might have more than that. He does like clothing, obviously the music thing. He's a DJ, and when he DJs, like he's not just DJing. I mean, people make fun of him for
throwing cakes and all that kind of stuff.
He's like all over the place. Like he takes his shows to 100% energy the entire time he's on stage. There's no like lulls in the energy. It's like a crazy party the entire time, and 2 hours of sleep, and then doing all that, every weekend or 3 or 4 days a week. I can't even imagine that. And he's older than I am. So
wow. I think there are, like from what I read, like there are some people, a very small percentage of the population who can get by on 4 hours of sleep, but 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. There's all sorts of weird things like that. Like a friend of mine could study while drunk, and do extremely well. Like he like
helpful.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. There's all sorts of people that can like get away with stuff that the average person would be like, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't even make physical sense. So yeah, but no, I get a good amount of sleep because I just feel like I need it. I mean, I certainly think that my music would suffer if I didn't have like proper physical health. And I think that sleep, I didn't used to be of this belief, but sleep is most certainly something that you need.
You're sleeping for 8 hours, you're working full time. How do you fit everything in? Because we kind of talked about this in episode 21, but what we didn't talk about was everything beyond production. Because obviously as a producer, you're not just making music, you're updating your social media, you're handling contracts, like going back and forth with labels and other artists and sorting stuff out, the business side of things. It is a lot of work. How do you fit it all in?
It can be. I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, you need to have the production thing down. I mean, and you need to be at the top of your game. Like, you need to be able to write really good music, and that is the minimum you need to be able to do as a producer. That's a minimum, because there's people out there that are writing great tracks, and they're doing everything else, as you just mentioned. So if you're not like at the top, like in terms of production, like I mean, you don't have to be like the best of the best, but you have to be writing very good music, high, top quality music that can be released on a record label that people would play. That's the bare minimum that you have to do. So, to like, all the other stuff is, again, it's really just like the way I talked about producing, is like cutting out everything that takes time. So you had mentioned I'm dealing with contracts. I read through them, but the majority of contracts are pretty standard. Like the ones that come from Armada, they're pretty standard. Like I mean, if I looked at all my tracks, like the only thing that would change, the only difference between every single contract that I've signed for them is the name of the track and the vocalist, maybe. So like once you read one, it's like if you're releasing on the same label, it's pretty much going to be, like word for word the same thing.
Of course, yeah.
Now, like I know that like printing out a track is like, printing out a contract is difficult these days because nobody has a printer anymore. So you need to do that, but there's actually a great app, which I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but I think it's called Toldja So. Let me look it up. I've got it on my phone right now. Where you can, I'm sure there's other apps that are just like to do the exact same thing, but basically you can just sign. Okay, it's called Sign Now.
Oh, okay.
Toldja So. It's called Sign Now, and you can sign with your finger, like put on your own signature. And just do it digitally, and it looks like you can pick a pen, like a felt tip or like a calligraphy pen or whatever you want it to look like, so it looks real. And then you can put your initials in there too if you need to, and then you can type stuff out, like if you need the date or whatever. And that's really helped me out, because like trying to get contracts signed used to be a bitch before I found this app, and like the labels would be like, "Where's that contract? Why haven't you signed it?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it got, like, I got buried underneath emails. I'm sorry, I'll get it to you tonight," or whatever. And then I wouldn't, because I don't have access to a freaking printer. I need to go to like a Kinko's, or I don't know what you guys have over there.
Library. Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, so there's like a copy shop that you go to, and you print it out there or something like that. But they're like, those don't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny when you think about it. So that's like a weird barrier there. But the things like that, it just like simplifies your lives. Like, so like an app like that, for social media, that's just life. That's just part of life. Like, you can do it like on the fly, like when you're walking down a hallway, or stuff like that. I mean, I think it's just a matter of getting stuff done. A good way to do it might actually just be to make a list of things that you need to do versus trying to like look at them, like literally look at your email and see what you have to do, or if something's online, go see what you have to do there, because that's all in different places. So maybe like centralizing it on one list, like just make a list on your iPhone, or your Android, or whatever, and see how much stuff you need to do. That actually has helped me a lot because, like for instance, whenever I have a day off, my wife will assume that I just have all this time and I can do all these errands, which I don't mind doing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny how that always, like, it always happens. But I love her, so don't get me wrong. But so she'll actually write out a list because I am extremely forgetful. She'll tell me to do like 5 things. I'll remember 2 of them. And it's just 5 things, and they're all in the same place, something like that. And I'll know that I had 5 things to do. I'll just be like, I can't remember what 3 things were. So she'll write out a list for me to do. And I find that doing that is just so much more easy. Like it just makes doing things easier. I don't know why. Maybe it's because you can see the progression that you're making, like crossing off things on the list and be like, oh, I have 2 more things to do, or I'm only like out of 20 or whatever. So that's really helpful. I think making lists, and I've heard other people actually say that too. Making lists is really helpful for them. So that might be something that you might want to do if you're having trouble with time management.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of lists, especially on pen and paper. I know you can get apps and all this kind of stuff to handle it, but I do like paper. Like I think it's just super. It's like more permanent, once you've written down paper.
I really do. I get that. I mean, it's sort of like the tangibility of it.
But it's hard to carry around. So
it is. Yeah.
Kind of got 2 following questions from this.
Okay.
The first is that. And I've seen this pop up in recent months, and I can't really, I'm not judging when I say this, but I feel like a lot of producers who like you said, aren't doing the bare minimum of making great music, are focusing too much on the other stuff, like the social media and actually strategizing and, where do I get good graphics from and this kind of stuff. Do you feel the same way? Like, do you feel that there's that there could be a little bit more focus on the craft of music production?
Well, I mean, like I said, I think it is the most important thing to write good music if you're planning to be a musician. But that being said, all that other stuff is important.
But at what point? Like, that's what I'm asking.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess. Yeah. If you're literally just starting out, you don't want to worry about your logo, or how cool your Facebook, or how many likes your Facebook page has got, or your like how many people are looking at your Snapchat snaps or whatever. Like that stuff, it really doesn't matter, because to be honest, if you're just starting out, nobody's going to be doing that. So if you have a whole bunch of likes on your Facebook page and you don't have a single track out, like that doesn't really add up, So I mean, logo design, that's cool. I mean, it's fun to do. Like you can probably do it as like a break from writing music. Like it might kind of feel like that's like a chore to do, because sometimes they can actually be a little bit difficult if you're uninspired. But I found that if like writing music, if you're doing that in and out all day long every day, you need breaks. So, doing that kind of stuff as a break might work well. But I do think that, like, first and foremost, you do need to focus on the production. It needs to be the most important thing that you're working on.
Yeah.
Because, again, if you're not writing at the top of your game, nobody's going to take you seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way I approach it, and the reason I asked, is because a lot of these people work a full-time job, and they might have, between family and all these other obligations, might have like a couple of hours spare per day, like 2 hours, let's say. And to me, it's like, do you spend 1 hour of that, thinking about how you're going to kill it on Facebook, or do you put that into production, which is going to have like a long-term benefit, like more of a long-term benefit, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Opportunity cost. That's what I'm trying to say.
Sure. That at that point, Facebook doesn't matter. If you only have 2 hours out of the day, don't spend it on Facebook, because you're going to get distracted anyways on Facebook. So you're not going to spend an hour of your time like building up your Facebook page, which you don't even need to. Like an hour, like that's way too much. If you're spending an hour on your Facebook page, you need to hire somebody to do it for you, because you don't know what the hell you're doing. But yeah, no, both of those hours should be spent writing music or learning some sort of technique on YouTube or something to improve your ability to make good music. Because unless you're like 80 years old, you're already going to be good at Facebook. I mean, like I said, unless you're spending an hour on it, that's not good. It's not necessary for you to improve your Facebook game. Now, if you're looking at stuff like, getting the right ad out or something like that, again, that's stuff that you don't really need to be worrying about at the beginning if you're not writing the best songs that you can. For anybody that's out there that's doing that, stop right now and open up your DAW and do some stuff in there, because that's where it's going to count. That's where you're going to get signed to a great label. And then once you're on a great label, they're going to mention you on their Facebook page. Your Facebook page is going to blow up. So you don't have to do a thing, Why waste all that time when you can, like, other people can do it for you for free?
But there are a lot of people out there, and I get emails all the time from people who say, I get it, like I have to spend more time making music, but I come home from work, like I work 60 hours a week or, 40 hours a week. I come home from work and I'm just tired.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I really do get that. So you're saying, like, how do you...
Yeah, how do you deal with that? Or what advice would you give to them?
Honestly, I don't come home every day and write music. Like today, like this whole week, especially because I just got back and I'm still on, European time. My brain's kind of fried. I'm too exhausted to write music and to do anything like really amazing, at least in my opinion. And so I'm taking a break. I'm letting myself kind of recharge. And that's kind of it. I'm sure that probably next week I'm going to, get back into it. Maybe even this weekend, where I don't have to work and, I'll spend some time, watching TV or doing whatever with my wife. And then I'll come up to the studio and just open up the DAW and see what comes out. Because, I haven't really done anything in terms of music for almost 3 weeks now, counting the time that I spent in Croatia. So I've had like a good amount of time to just kind of chill and relax and not have to stress about, does this sound right? Does that sound right? Or whatever. So I think that you don't have to necessarily be writing music every day. Like you come home from work and like you feel like stressed out that you're not spending time in the studio. No, just relax. And I think that, maybe like watch a couple of videos or something, because that's definitely going to help you out, but it doesn't necessarily need you to be sitting at your desk, with the DAW open and doing all this stuff. It can be pretty enjoyable to just like watch the video and see what this guy's doing and, learn some techniques. Now, if you're like, don't watch like how to make this synth or how to make that synth, because you need to be at your desk and have that synth open in order to like really follow along. I'm talking about, like watching stuff at like Pensado's place or watching, like go to like the Waves YouTube. Like they've got tons of awesome videos there. And also there was another one that I was going to mention. Oh yeah, Isotopes YouTube. They've got really cool stuff on like how to use their own stuff. But just like I mentioned with the mastering tutorial that they've put out, like it's a PDF. A lot of what they have is very similar to a lot of what's just out there. So what they say about their own things can translate really, really easily to other compressors or limiters or whatever, tape machines, things like that. So you can use those techniques that they're talking about with other bits of software. So I mean, like, you don't necessarily have to be writing music all the time to be, like learning or improving yourself in terms of production. You could just go watch a video and it's still going to help you out a lot.
So you've got a release coming up called Toldja So. Been premiered on Hardwell on air, I believe.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that.
I'm really excited about it. It's a really great track, in my opinion. One of the best I've written. Once again, in my opinion, it's a funny story on how it sort of came together because Anna Yvette, who's the singer on the track, I've written a song with her not a long time ago, about maybe a year ago. Called Eyes to the Sky, and like that one, like people just loved it. They loved that track, and I was surprised by the response. I thought it was a really good track, but like the response was like more than what I thought it was going to be, and so it was really exciting. It made me feel really good, and I hope that this one also has the same sort of reception because I think it's even better. But the way it came together is, I wrote the track itself, and I wrote it knowing that I was going to need a vocal. And I hit her up because we were talking for a while, while I was writing the track. We had been texting or whatever. We're over the last few days or so, and I was like, hey, do you happen to have any vocals that aren't, any vocals that are recorded that you haven't sent off already to somebody else? And so she sent me a whole bunch of them. And this one that she sent me was like the perfect fit. Like it was as if we wrote both the music and the vocals together, which we totally didn't. She just wrote those totally on her own, and I wrote the song totally on my own. But if you listen to the track, it's as if it's just like a perfect match for each other. And it was so amazing when it came together. So I didn't have to change anything about my track. I didn't have to change anything about her vocal. I just literally laid it on there. And I will say that Anna herself is a sound engineer, and so her and Matthew Steeper and Mike Schmidt, who I've all worked with, all those people, they are the best vocalists, because they not only do they sing extremely well, but they also can produce their own vocals. So they compress their vocals and they EQ it and everything and add the effects and stuff like that. And then they send it to me as if I just need to stick it in the channel and maybe do a little bit of EQ.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That saves a ton of time.
Oh, totally, man. Well, not only does it save you time, but it's just they bring so much value to your song. It's like it. I don't know. It's so much better because when you stick it in there, a lot of times if I get a vocal and I have to work on it, which I do it. I don't mind it, but it's so much more difficult to do. It's just so much more difficult to do. Whereas doing it this way, you stick it in there and the song is it's done, and it's a great feeling. That's why I love working with her. I love working with Matthew Steeper and Mike Schmidt. Matthew Steeper was a singer on Gasoline, and Mike was on Follow. And then Matthew also produces for a few other people. Haylene, she was on the media rights track that I did. And then I think he also does some stuff with this girl named Kara, who's on a few tracks now. She's done stuff for Protocol. She just did something with Enhanced, and I'm hoping to do a song with her as well. But yeah, so Toldja So, it's coming out on the 22nd on Revealed Recordings. Super excited about it. Like I said, it's a really cool track, and definitely one of the, a bucket list item for me to get signed to Revealed. So hopefully there's going to be more of that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now, one thing I want to talk about, which I think is pretty important, and I might have talked about it before on the podcast with some other guests, but I'm not sure. Approaching other people, like I'm sure you get a bunch of people messaging you on a daily basis, whether it's your Facebook page, email, maybe even your personal page. I don't know. And I'm sure some of them are like well put together messages, and others are kind of not that good. And the kind of stuff you look at, because I get them too. You get messages, and someone's just like, "Hey, can you promote my music on your page?" And it's like, you obviously haven't looked at the page. We don't promote music, and you just don't look at them. You ignore them and whatever. What advice would you give to producers who have the skill that want to, say, start collaborations or just build a relationship with another producer? How do you recommend that they contact and kind of initiate conversation with that person?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is a really particularly important topic to talk about, in fact, because, as the world gets more and more enraptured with social media and online presence and not meeting people you do business with face to face anymore, people get less and less familiar with the social etiquette that's just kind of should be upheld.
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't walk up to someone in the street and chuck a CD in their face and say, "Can you give this to other people?"
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe I'm just old fashioned.
No, I think you're polite.
I think that introducing yourself to someone you don't know and allowing them to get to know you before you ask them for something is the right thing to do. I mean, I had to tell somebody that. I actually had to tell somebody that. And these people, they have the best intentions. They're not purposefully being dismissive of your, time. They're just sending you a message, and they want to be they're really excited. They probably typed it up really quickly because they're so excited to show you something. But then, you also get those people that they say, okay, I'll get Facebook messages from somebody that says something like, "Hey, Noah, I love your music. Let's write together. I'm in the studio tomorrow." And I'm like, and that's basically it. There's no "Hi, I'm so-and-so. I know we don't know each other, but I think you're a really good producer, and I've been producing stuff myself for such and such time. Here's some songs that I've written, and if you like them and you think we might be a good fit, I'd love to write with you." I mean, I think that would probably go over much, more nicely than, "Hey, I'm 16 years old. Let's write a song."
Yeah.
It's a typical YouTube comment. But people will actually say those things, and it's you don't walk up to somebody in the middle of the street that you don't know and say, "Hey, let's do this." Mm-hmm. I'd be like,
that's just weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Exactly. Yeah. So why isn't it weird online? Why don't these people realize it? I mean, I would hope that their parents are teaching them better, at least face to face. I'm doing it face to face. I don't know. Maybe they are. But I just, you wouldn't walk up to somebody and say something like that. It'd be really weird and I think maybe it's because of the anonymity inherent in social media, that people think it's okay to just act like that online, but it's not. But no, so there's, there's a good way to do it. And it's interesting because, I have experienced that as well. So basically, if you want to ask somebody, introduce yourself formally, say, hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm from Los Angeles or wherever. I've got, I've listened to your music, and, I'm actually a producer as well. I think we kind of ride the same sort of, we have the same sort of vibe. Here's something that I've been working on. I think that, it's pretty good, but maybe this is missing or that's missing. But here you go. If you'd like to listen to it, I'd really appreciate it. If you want to, I'd really like to work on it with you if you're up for it. But if not, I totally understand. If you still would like to listen to it, maybe you could give me some pointers or something like that. And that's what, these guys, We Are Rome, from LA, actually. That's what happened to me with them on this track called Paradise. They Facebook messaged me, and they were super polite, and they had the track that was pretty much completely written, but it wasn't produced, super well, and it needed a lot more work. It wasn't arranged well. It had 3 drops in it, which you just don't do in modern music, or at least modern EDM. So it was way too long. It was kind of messy. But the melody really, really caught me. It really was super romantic. So it really hit a chord with me, and I took them up on it because they were polite. They introduced themselves, and, they talked to me as if they were coming up to me in a meeting or something like that. And I think that goes a lot further than people think. And maybe it's also because, a lot of people who these guys are messaging don't even respond.
Right,
so
yeah.
Why would I spend the time writing this super long, nice message when I don't even think they're going to respond?
And so they kind of adopt that, copy and paste, a copy and paste to 100 people and hopefully someone will respond.
I'm sure that's what it is. And so for me, I make it a point to respond to everybody who messages me. So it's funny, because you were talking about how do you balance all your time. Well, I get back to 100% of the people, unless they're just hi.
Yeah.
Because I've literally gotten those messages. I've gotten more than once too.
Yeah. Same here.
Hi, and that's it. And so I'm and I used to actually reply to those people too. I'd be hi back, and then they'd continue with the message. And so, but it's don't do that. Why do I have to say hi? Tell me what you want up front. But anyways, anyways, you have to write your message as if everybody's going to respond. It has to be personable. It has to be personal. It ought to be hi, Noah, I'm so-and-so, or hi, Sam, I'm so-and-so, and this is what I want. These are my credentials. So that I'm worth talking to, and blah, 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 I think being polite really goes a long way. Like I said, much, much longer than people think. But, that Paradise song, man, it was great. I worked on it with the guys, and, I think showing somebody something, especially if you're a little bit lower on the totem pole, maybe, I said this in the last interview. I hate sounding like I'm tooting my own horn or that I'm better than other people. But there's just a certain some people are at a certain level, and some people are not at that level, and that's just the reality of it. And these We Are Room guys, they knew that they were not at the same level that I was at, but they were good musicians, and so they showed me the track, and they brought value to their pitch. They weren't just hey, let's write a song from scratch. You don't know me and I don't know you, but let's do it. I'm not going to go for that, you know? Like, who was it that said that? Okay. Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro will not make a movie with anybody that he doesn't know. So if there's like a new director or a new producer or new actor or whoever is involved in the movie that he's going to be in, he makes sure to get to know them on a personal level. Like, he has dinner with them and they go and hang out and they get to know each other well, you know, to the point where people call him Bob, you know. So I think I kind of work the same way. I mean, maybe some other people don't, but I most certainly do. Like, I want to know who I'm working with, because if it turns out that you're a huge jerk online, and we wrote a song together, I mean, I don't want to associate myself.
That comes back to you. It comes back to you.
I don't want. I mean, like, you know, there was a guy who was like really super homophobic, and I didn't know this about him, but he's like one of those, like, I mean, you know, not to. I don't know, he was just like super homophobic and super racist, and we wrote a song together, or we were like in the process of doing that. And then I found out all this stuff on his Facebook. I'm like, wow, you know, I don't really want to continue writing this song with you, man. You're kind of a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know. I mean, it's like people write music with Kanye. you know where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know.
I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I mean, so, like, you know, if you're at a certain level and you're asking somebody who is like, if you're okay, let's say you're not signed to any labels, you don't have any official tracks out, you don't, you know, you're like starting out, like, you've got great skills, but you haven't like made a name for yourself yet, and then you're asking somebody who has numerous tracks that have been out, you know, has hit, you know, Beatport top 10, you know, that kind of thing. If you ask them for, you know, to write a song with you, I think that you need to have written at least something that you want to pitch to them, because that will get them interested. That's what got me interested in writing Paradise with We Are Rome. If they just said, hey, let's write a track together, I don't think that we would have ended up writing a track together. I don't. Because, like, it would have, you know, like, why would I want to sit there and write music with somebody that I don't know, and I don't even know how good they are? Like, it could end up being that, like, I have to spend so much time teaching this guy what it is that we're doing. You know, we're never going to write a song together because of the time that it takes, you know, and I don't have that kind of time, honestly. I mean, I enjoy teaching people, like, that I know, who are my friends. I love teaching, you know, people the stuff that I do. But, you know, if I don't know you and you don't know me, and it's just like, it's weird, you know?
Yeah. I think that's crucial, though, because at the end of the day, talk is cheap. And you, like, it's easy to message someone and say, hey, look, I'm a talented producer. I've been doing it for 6 years, got all these skills. But like, how they perceive that is just going to be, oh, this is another person who's talking about how good they are. They don't, like, I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
If you don't send any sort of music, because music is what, like you said, like, that's the only reason you really collaborated with them. If they had said, you know, we're super good at mixing, like, can come up with melodies well, it's just going to be like, I can't tell. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Like, I don't know for sure, man.
Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to believe that when I haven't seen anything from you, you know? But no, yeah, these guys sent me, and like I said, I mean, it wasn't mixed grade, you know, it wasn't perfect. You know, it needed like another like 40 to 50% of the work still needed to be done, and so I did that, and then it was fair, you know, because they had a great melody, they played the guitar really well, there was the vocal already recorded, like professionally recorded. So they were serious, you know, they spent time and probably a good amount of money trying to get that vocal recorded. And so I was like, wow, yeah, this is totally something that I want to work on. You know, the vocals sung very well. It's got a great melody. It's, you know, it just needs that, you know, extra oomph, like that professional sheen. And that's what I brought, you know, I brought, you know, the ability to take it from a rough track to a final product. So much so that, like I said, Armada signed it. So, I think that, yeah, you want to bring something and show people what you're capable of. Like I got this message the other day, which I might have mentioned it earlier, but anyways, I got this message from this guy, and he's like, hey, I'm so-and-so, or no, he didn't even introduce himself. He was like, hey, Noah, I like your music. Let's write some songs. Basically like that. And I was like, okay, well, contact my management and we'll see what comes about.
Yeah, yeah.
And then later on, he's like, okay, so if we contact her and she says yes, like, can we start writing some chords together and stuff? And I'm like, no, dude. Like, talk to her first, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
And, this went on for a little while. So, yeah, I mean, that's like the worst. It's like don't like insist on it, let it, like, do what, if you're asked to do something, do that, unless it's something ridiculous. But I don't think that contacting my management is anything that, any other person would do. So, or wouldn't do, I'm sorry. So yes, I don't know. There's like a huge spectrum of people out there, and some people just like really go to the extreme.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I think to me the fundamental thing is that when you're trying to pitch someone who's a few levels higher than you, you add as much value as you can, and like make it as easy as possible for them to A, make a judgment on whether they want to work for you, and B, like respond to you. Like I love when people message me and it's like, I don't know, maybe a slightly long message and they're like, feel free not to respond, or like, don't rush, or something like that. So that's good because there's no pressure,
Yeah. And it's not like, I get those messages too. And I appreciate the person saying that, not because it's like, oh, thank God they're not wanting me to get right back to them, because I will. I typically, unless I'm like really busy, typically if I get a message, I know that person has taken the time to message me, and they're sitting right at their computer at that moment because they just messaged me. So I actually like to message them right back and say, hey, I will listen to this. I don't have the time right now. If I don't have the time, I don't have the time right now, but I will listen to this and I'll let you know what I think, and then they are super appreciative, and then they become like a fan of yours, or even better, they might become a friend. So I mean, that's why I said, like, I respond to every message. I definitely respond to comments. Like if I make a post and somebody comments, I will comment right back to you. 100% of the people get a response from me. Like I said,
is there a point where that becomes unsustainable though?
I'm sure it does. Like if you're Armin van Buuren and you're getting like comments like every moment of the day.
Yeah.
But that's not me yet. I mean, like hopefully I get to that point. I would love to get to that point. And yes, that will be unsustainable. But right now, I mean, like I don't get back to everybody right away. But eventually, I make it a point to say, oh, I haven't talked to this person. Okay, let me let them know that I appreciate the fact that they're taking the time out of their day to say that they like my music, or they like the picture that I posted. I think it's just, giving back to your fans. I memean, it's important to know that they're appreciated because they're taking the time to appreciate you.
I think that's fantastic advice, all of that. You did this collab and you took this idea with the vocal from like a rough track to a finished version. A lot of people, including me actually, like struggle with the last 10% of a production. First, why do you think that is, and how do you kind of like push through that last 10%?
Okay, well, why I think it is like that is because, and it's EDM specifically. I think that it's because when you're producing, you're typically by yourself, and you're sitting in your room, and you're working on this track. That last 10% might as well be the last infinity, because you can sit there and keep changing things until you die, So I mean, it's just, like I said, that the last 10%, it could be, it could take the longest time to do, to finish out. And I say that, but for me, I don't know. What I mean by that is okay, when I write a song, I get to a point where I think that it's good enough to show someone, like a friend or a fellow producer or my wife. And if enough of those people say, yeah, this is great, it sounds awesome, then I guess that I start to think that it's close to being done. And I say done while I'm saying done with like the air quotes.
Yeah.
It's audio, so I can't show people. But honestly, I don't think a track is ever really done. It's just like done enough to show to like a label A&R. So I send it off, and then it eventually gets signed, hopefully. But then it goes into hibernation, until it gets released months and months later. And while it's tucked away in the bear cave, I'm repeatedly listening to it, because that's what we all do.
Yeah.
And as an artist, when any artist continuously reviews their track or their work, which is basically what I do whenever I listen to when I listen to my tracks. I'm like reviewing it. I'm listening for things that I might have done wrong or that I could have changed or whatever. And it's not even my own tracks. It could be like anybody's track, and that's besides the point. So when I'm listening to my music, I start to find holes or flaws, or things that I could have changed or added, and I can't anymore because the track is already submitted to Beatport and iTunes already. And if you change it at the last moment, you lose the potential for a feature, because they select their features like 5 weeks in advance. And so I don't really understand why it's like that, but that's just the way it is. So, my tracks are pretty much, they're only 90% done when you think about it, when they're released, at least in my eyes. They're not perfect, in my opinion, but at the same time, they're good enough, So I think like that last 10% might not be like something that you want to focus on in terms of like getting it sounding better than it is. Because if you show it to enough people and enough of those people are like, this is an awesome song, and you show it to a bunch of producers and those producers don't immediately say, oh, you need to do this, or, the bass is too quiet or loud or whatever, then maybe the track is done. Maybe it's 100% done, So I think maybe it's a mindset, stop trying to think of trying to get the track to 100% from 90 or 80 or wherever you're at, and just start thinking about getting it to the point where people other than yourself enjoy listening to it, and where other producers aren't like, fix this. I think it is a problem. I recognize that, and it used to be a huge problem for me. But like I said, I mean, it's just maybe it was Morgan Page that said this, or he could have been quoting it from somebody else. But he knows that a track is done when he can't remove anything anymore without it sounding weird.
I like that.
And so maybe go with that.
Because I mean, the mindset most of us have is to get through that last 10%, whether it's even necessary in the first place. As you just said, you need to add. You need to add more. You need to fill it in more. But perhaps it's the opposite. And because people have that mindset, they keep adding more, thus making the track sound worse. Thus feeling like they're not getting anywhere.
Yeah. Then you start spinning your wheels, and then you kind of get tired of listening to the track, and then it's crap. It turns into a big, ball of mush. Like I said, if you feel like you're at 90%, like if you feel like the track is pretty good where it's at, it could be played in a track in a club, maybe take a step back and don't listen to it for like 2 or 3 days, or a week. The longer the better, but I know it's kind of hard to to do that. It's kind of get to force yourself to do it. But so do that, and then come back to it and just listen to it. Don't like try and analyze it. And I know that it's hard because that's kind of like the curse of being a producer, is that you always analyze things now. Like you can't like listen to a track, you always have to analyze it. But try not to like consciously try not to, and just listen to the track and see if you hear anything that's missing. You know, because you might not. And maybe listen to it with somebody else in the room, or a couple people in the room, and then just ask them for their opinion once it's over. And if they're like, that's awesome, or yeah, you know, like, and I mean, because even if they're your friend, like, unless the track is absolute crap, I mean, like, yeah, even if okay, so I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I think that your friends, like, if you ask them to be honest with you, they will be honest. They won't tell you that a track is good if it's absolute crap. So, you know, listen to it with a couple people and see if they see anything that's wrong with it. And if not, you know, it's 100% done.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're a new producer and you're listening to this is even more important, because if you're spending your time trying to get to 100% every time, you know, spending weeks just tweaking things, you're not going to be progressing as fast. I think I said this in my book or something like that, but if you get to 90% and then you leave that track or release it or whatever, and then you get to 90% the next time, because you're progressing fast and learning, that 90% is going to be like the 100% in terms of quality, compared to the last track. And so if you keep getting to 90% every time, you're going to get better,
right?
Know, as opposed to trying to get to that perfect standard, which never happens, of course. And as a result, not really learning or getting better.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I mean, you know, if you leave the track alone for a few days, like it might magically get to 100% on its own, because like, you know, when you come back and listen to it that next time, it could be done already. You know, so you don't have to really worry about that. Just get it good enough to where it's good enough to play alongside other tracks that are already out there. Because like I said, you can always find something that you would change. Always. Like in every single one of my tracks that I've done, there's a whole bunch of things that I'm like, nah, I could have done this, or I wish I did that, or whatever. But people are still buying my music. You know, people are still playing my music. Hardwell's playing my music. You know, Tritonal's playing my music. You know, they don't think those things. So, I mean, you know, like, maybe they're not as big a deal as I'm making it out to be. You know, or maybe they wouldn't have made the track that much better. I don't know. I mean, maybe they would have, but other people seem to think that they're just fine.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think we can easily get inside our own head and tell ourselves all this stuff, you know.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I suppose that's what being creative, like, everyone's like that.
Yeah.
And in some respects, like, it's what makes your work good.
Yeah. You know, I mean, like you worry about those things, and they are important things, but you know,
there's a balance.
There's a balance. Exactly.
I'm not sure if you do this, but I know a lot of people, including myself from time to time, like to just practice, like not work on a song, maybe work on sound design, or just write like 10 melodies in an hour. Do you do anything like that, just practicing instead of working directly on a track?
So I don't really practice per se, but yeah, I guess I sound design I don't do a whole lot of. So I've kind of already got like a good like bunch of like patch banks that are like staple sounds that aren't necessarily like, you know, oh, you didn't make that sound, because it's like I could if I wanted to. It's
it's a stupid mindset, that whole you have to make your sounds from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, if I did that every time I started a track, man, I would never finish a track. I mean, it'd take months just to write a track. No, you can't be doing that. And that's why you know, it took so long to write music in the first place, when, you know, presets weren't even like in existence. You know, it's because you had to set up everything every time you wanted to write a song. But no, so I don't do a whole lot of that. But I will say that I know you just mentioned this being the curse of being a producer, but I do think it is important to like listen to other people's songs and sort of like pick apart what they've done. And you don't necessarily have to like try and like separate the sounds out, like actually separate them. I just, just listen to the song and like listen to like how much reverb they've put on something, or how much, if the kick is punchy enough, or that kind of stuff. Like I always listen for that. I always listen for a punchiness of a kick. And it's mainly because I guess I'm not very confident with the punchiness of my own kicks. So I'm like, is this one like better than mine, or is mine okay? Like, does it sound better than this one? Stuff like that. So that's something that I think is important to me.
I think it's important for all producers to deconstruct other music.
Yeah. I mean, I do it all the time. I mean, I can't listen to music anymore. I analyze music. I'm like, that sounds good. What they did with the filter, or I wouldn't have done that. Like, okay, so there's this one song that's on the radio. It's not EDM, but it's a song. It's all over the radio. It's called "Son of a Bitch" by Daniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. And there's this snap sound. There's like he's like snapping throughout the whole track, and there's so much reverb on it. And then like the vocals just have like a regular, like a small, like a room reverb. So it sounds like somebody's snapping like in a cathedral, but the vocal is coming from like a small room. And so it sounds like they're they're coming from two completely different spaces to me. And I told it to my wife, and she was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" But it's something that I noticed. And so I hear stuff like that in tracks all the time. So it's not necessarily practicing, but and it's even ruined some songs for me. But I think it's a cool thing to do because it sort of helps you kind of sort out what you're doing yourself. So I don't know, if you're not listening to what other successful people are doing, you won't really be able to kind of compare yourself to anything, which I think is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's good. Not everyone has this problem, but I certainly do. Like, I need to actually remember to just take time to listen to music. Yeah. Because I deconstruct as well when I'm listening passively, but sometimes my brain turns it off. And so every now and then I'll sit down for like 30 minutes and just study a song. Like not look at it in Ableton, just like close my eyes and just listen to it with headphones or something. And you pick up so much. You really do. And it's I think it's something that I used to do even as a kid, like before I started producing or anything. I used to do that because like, and Matt Zoe actually mentioned this after he wrote his album. But he said something like, with hip hop albums back from like the 80s, or not 80s, the 90s, if you listen to them multiple times, like if you're trying to learn the lyrics or something like that, you can listen to them multiple times and you'll start hearing things that you didn't hear the time before that you listened to it, or the time before that. Like there's just like little quirks of the song that, are really, really interesting. And I think that that's just like a cool thing, not even from like a producer perspective, but just like from a listener perspective, like hearing a song more than once and hearing it differently the second time you listen to it, it's just kind of cool. So I don't know. I mean, it's a little tangent there, but no, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like even if you are analyzing the song, you can kind of like have a better appreciation for the song once you have heard all the little nuances and little like tidbits that the producer has thrown in there. Yeah, absolutely. I think some people, joke about it being a curse as a producer that you can't listen to music. But to be honest, I think it's better because you kind of experience music in this new way. Yeah, I mean, it's something that's definitely like not the vast majority of people in the world are not going to experience music that way. And it is kind of interesting. Like, I think it's a little bit of a curse because, like, I can't.
Oh, yeah, sometimes.
I mean, like, I go to a concert and I'm thinking this way, you know? But
listen to the birds chirping and it's like, oh, yeah, it's probably between, 1,000 hertz and.
Exactly. It's like, oh, yeah, they must have rolled off the bass at like 40. It's not super, super low.
Noah, a lot of people struggle with arrangement, like structure and arrangement, the terms used interchangeably. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to those producers?
Okay, so this is super easy. And it's also solve everybody's problems. Just listen to music. Literally, that's it. And just see how the arrangement's set up. Because it's a standard. Like, there's like just a couple of ways that are done in EDM. And one of the ways that EDM is done is like pop structure. So when I say that, I mean, I can tell you exactly what to do. So for most of EDM, like with the pop structure, it's a 16-bar intro, 16 bars of verse, 8-bar chorus, 8-bar buildup, which kind of can include the chorus. So maybe a 16-bar chorus with the buildup in the last 8 bars. Then a 16-bar drop, and then it just repeats, of course, without the intro. And then at the end of that, there's a 16-bar outro. And that's literally it. If you listen to all my songs, that's pretty much how every single one of them is written. Some of them might be longer than 16 bars, but that order is exactly how you need to do it. Like, and don't like try and change all that up because, like I said, that's standard. That's the way.
It's a popular structure for a reason.
Exactly. Now you got some like trance and house that's a little bit different because it's written strictly for the clubs. So they basically got a 32-bar intro, 32-bar bass drop, 32-bar break, 16-bar build, 32-bar melody drop, and then you can do like a 32-bar bass drop again, and then 32-bar outro. And that'll end up at like 128. That'll end up being like 6 minutes or 6.5 minutes. So you can kind of cut some of that off because modern music now is obviously a lot shorter than that. But back in like 2012, 2011, like that is, and still now, like most trance is that. And I mean, if you really want to get simple about it, just take your favorite song or whatever song you're trying to copy the arrangement from. Because that's okay to do.
Of course, yeah.
But just stick it on like the top channel on your DAW, and then just copy the arrangement. Like your intro is how long that song's intro is. Your break is how long that song's break is, and so on and so forth. I think it can be a daunting task because you've got so much stuff that you want to put in. But if you stick to that arrangement, it'll actually, not only are you like getting the arrangement together, which again is a daunting task, but it'll help limit what you're going to stick in there. Like, because sometimes some producers, like some producers that will send me their stuff, like there's too much content. The song goes on for too long. It starts sounding really monotone, like really like the same, like over and over and over again. And I'm like, all that sounds really good, but if you cut each section in half, it would sound so much better. And so I think that like doing that, it'll really help you out just by, limiting the amount of content that you can put into your song.
Yeah. And what about the more intricate parts? It's not really arrangement, but it kind of is. Like, I know a lot of people struggle with transitions specifically, going from one part to another smoothly. And that's something you're extremely good at, like listening to your music. It flows really well. It's maybe a hard question to answer, but what tips would you give for dealing with transitions specifically?
No, so it's actually pretty, again, it's pretty simple. I just use effects to lead into the next part of the song. So if a vocal is going to come in, I'll take like a reverse reverb of the first syllable of the vocal. So it'll be like and then the vocal will come in, or something like that, or use a riser. Risers are always good. They don't have to just be in the build. They can be at the beginning of a verse or something like that. It kind of gives the listener, without really like being super obvious about it, like it gives the listener a sort of like sense that things are going to change once you get to the top of that riser. Stuff like that. Or if you're about to introduce like a new bass part, take out the bass of the part that is right before that transition point. So what I'm saying is like, it's kind of like a build. Typically, at least with my builds, when there's like, all the snares are coming in, and like just a lot of white noise. From the start of the build, I'm taking out a lot of the bass. I'm like slowly removing the bass, and then like right before the first kick comes in, like the bass will be at like, I'll have a filter on at like 300 hertz or something like that. So there's barely any bass, because like once that first kick comes in, if it's preceded by hardly any bass at all, that first kick is going to seem so much more massive. And so you can do that with anything. It doesn't necessarily just have to be a build. Like, so you can do it with, again, introducing a vocal, or introducing like your pre-chorus or something like that. Just take the bass out of the part that's like the last 4 beats. The preceding measure, and then once the bass comes in for the next part, it seems so much more impactful. And then like I said, you throw like a riser on there, do some reverb stuff, and it really, I mean, I don't know, I guess it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what I do, but I kind of do all of it.
Of course, yeah.
All at the same time too. And another thing is a good trick that I've found is to add like a low pass kick to the transition point. So like I don't know how you describe it, like the point at which you're transitioning to, like that first beat, even if there's no kick drum, there's no like, rhythm, there's no drums or anything. Just add a really, really low pass kick, like a kick that's like all the high ends cut off until like, I don't know, like 100 hertz or something like that. So it's really just kind of like the punch and the sub of that kick, and make it like short. Don't like, not like a big room kick, but like a short, like trancey kick, just something punchy. Having that there like really gives that sort of like a sudden kind of impact.
Yeah.
Right at the transition point. I think that works really well for me. So yeah, just effects and that kick.
Yeah,
work really well.
For sure. And the last time we talked, episode 21, you mentioned that you use templates to start a new track. So like you'll take, if I recall correctly, you'll take the project from like the last track you made and kind of strip it out and use it as a starting point for a new one.
Yeah.
Wonder if you could dive into that a little bit deeper, because since that episode has been posted, I noticed you're replying to a few comments actually. I can't remember what some guy said, but it was a little bit controversial.
Yeah, I think he. I don't know if it's the same guy. I do remember one guy being like, "Well, that sure, you can do that if you want to just churn out tracks, but that doesn't. You don't really. You're not really writing tracks with feeling. You're just writing tracks quickly." And I was like, "Man, you have no idea. Like, I mean, I put my heart and soul into every single song that I write. Just the fact that I'm able to like come up with. I came up with an idea that saves me time in doing that. Like that, I mean, that's crazy. Like, why wouldn't you do that? It was like, okay, I'm going to be super honest right here. That track that I'm releasing on Revealed, I used the same track project file that I used for my track Follow. Those two tracks sound nothing alike. They, the kick is the same, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, yeah.
And, if I didn't say that, I don't think anybody would be able to tell. And I think that it's one of the best tracks that I've written. So, like I said, why wouldn't you do that? I mean, I don't know. I feel like I kind of like can sort of overcome the difficulty that most people are having, that we've even spoken about, is just like by not having enough time in the day to write music, especially write music at like at the rate that I write it at. I overcame that by using this method, so I don't know. I kind of like having things already laid out for me once when I sit at my computer. I don't want to let's say I have a melody in my head.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm gonna sit at my computer. I'm gonna write it into the DAW. Well, if I have to open up the DAW and it's a blank file, like blank canvas, I've got that melody in my head. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull in Massive or Silent or Serum or whatever, and then I'm gonna find a patch that's kind of inspiring. Doing all that, especially finding a patch, that could take, like 5 minutes. But in the first 30 seconds, I might have already forgotten that melody, So, but if I open up a project file that I know, there's lead sounds in there that already sound cool, they're separated out, there's a chord, section that if I want to write some chords with it, I can quickly go in there and do that. The bass section's already on. Everything's already EQ'd properly. The side chain's on there, so it's going to sound cool when I hit the space bar and play it. Everything's going to sound good. So I can just get in there and put the melody in. I'm already done with the melody. Why would you not want to do that kind of thing? And the track's going to end up sounding different, clearly, because like my track Follow and my track Toldja So, they don't sound anything like each other, but they stemmed from the same project file together. So I don't know.
What is one of the biggest challenges you've faced as a producer?
Personally, I guess it's going to sound funny because it's counterintuitive to everything that we've been talking about, but it's finding the time to write music. That really is it. And that's why I use, old project files and recycle them or use a template or, look for an inspiring melody that might be in a sample pack and just change a little thing or not change anything at all. Because, in the end, that's why those people are selling those sample packs, is so you can use their stuff. But yeah, I think that the biggest challenge to me is just finding the time to write music. And so you have to find ways to overcome that by things that we just finished talking about. But I guess, going to what you were talking about with my father wanted me to be a doctor and that kind of thing. A lot of people might not have the support that they need to really fulfill their dreams of being a musician. Mm-hmm. Or maybe not. It's not even the support from other people, but it's the fact that you have to have money to do this. You can't just do it without any money. You need certain things, you need equipment. You need I don't know. If you're going to hire somebody to make your logo for you, or you're going to promote your music, you need money for like flyers or Facebook ads or that kind of stuff. And again, you don't really need that in the beginning, but you certainly need it if you're like starting to take it seriously. And you definitely need it if you're going to be doing it full time. But I feel like, again, I feel like as somebody who has a full-time job, which is a career, like it's not like I don't want to belittle other people's jobs, but it's just
it's not a dead-end job that you hate.
Right. Exactly. Yes. So like for someone like me who's doing that, I almost feel like it's my responsibility to tell people that you have to be realistic with your goals. So if you're 17 and your goal is to be a DJ and make a lot of money and you want to take it seriously, you can do that, but don't drop out of school. Stay in school. I think that like going to university is really important for a person, a young person's development, especially in this day and age, because you learn to meet so many different people at university, especially if you're like going to a diverse university. Like I went to the University of Texas at Austin, which I believe is the biggest school in America. Huh. We got something like 80,000 students or something like that, wow. Or maybe more now. So it's a huge school. So you meet tons of people, and I met people that I had never met this kind of a person before I went to UT. And so I think it opens your eyes to a lot of different things that you wouldn't be exposed to. Now you might be exposed to a little bit of it. But if you go to a super diverse school, it's going to be a completely different experience, one that you'll never get anywhere else. And I think that it's necessary for you to have those experiences as a young person. But not only that, but going to school, and again, I don't want to say anything bad about anybody else's things, but I think that majoring in something like in the sciences is really important, because that will give you a leg up. Business also is pretty, you can do stuff.
Yeah, but there are, let's be honest, there are degrees out there that kind of aren't worth studying.
Exactly. There are degrees where it's education for the sake of education.
Yeah.
I don't even know why that.
Which is fine if you've got the money and want to learn about it. But
yeah, exactly.
Not going to lead to a career.
Don't major in underwater basket weaving or something like that. Or whatever. You're going to want to major in finance or engineering or biology or something like that, because that will take you places that, the world. I saw this, and I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody important said this. Somebody famous and important. I can't remember who they are. But so they said, the world does not need any more artists. It doesn't need any more musicians. It doesn't need any more photographers. We got enough. We're saturated. We're oversaturated. There's so much music that's out there right now going unheard, simply because people don't have enough time to listen to all that music. What the world does need is more, scientists, more, people in physics or astronauts or things like that, things that will help humanity. And so I think that having a dream of being a musician is fantastic. It was my dream, and I feel like I'm somewhat living it. But
yeah.
I've also got this other side of my life where I'm doing something that, I think is pretty worthwhile. And it's helping, I'm helping people see better, or I'm helping, people's, if they've got an infection, I can help them out and get rid of that. So I said it in the last podcast that you want to be a productive member of society.
Yeah.
And if you're a musician, that's fantastic. But if you're not again, if you're not at the, top of your game and you're making good music, like you're spending all your full-time job is learning how to be a musician, that's not really, you're not really contributing to society. You're learning how, and I guess that's okay, but you want to do something in case that fails, because the odds are stacked against you as a musician. I feel like they're still stacked against me, and most people see me as like a successful case, and I don't feel like I'm where I want to be, with music. So, that being said, like I make a lot more money as a doctor than I do as a musician. So there's people that will be playing way bigger clubs than me, and I know that these people haven't, and it's simply because of proximity. Like I live in Austin, and we don't have any, huge super clubs. But in LA or New York, there are people who like don't even produce, but they've met the right promoter, and so they're playing like Exchange LA or whatever, huge Avalon, something like that, huge clubs in LA. And I've never played those clubs. But that person is gonna go home in their Honda. Nothing wrong with Hondas, but they're going home in their Honda.
They're reliable.
Yeah, and they're going to their apartment, or whatever. And I get to drive home in my BMW to a house that's on the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
And none of that money is coming from music. You like. There are so many things that will make you a successful person other than music. But music can still be a huge part of your life, like it is mine.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. And I just want to interject quickly because I feel like, and I had this as well. And like, I definitely don't want to come across, and I'm sure you don't as well, as like, we didn't make it, so this is why we're saying this. Kind of thing, because that's not what it is. It's more, I think the way you were putting it, it's like it's almost not a warning, but like just keep this in mind, because there seems to be quite the survivorship bias out there. Mm-hmm. Like survivorship bias, for people who don't know, it's like looking at a few edge cases and saying that you're going to end up that way as well. Like, if I drop out of school, I'm 16, I'll be like Bill Gates. I'll be successful because that's what they did. Except they are like the 1% of the 1%.
Right. Yeah.
And so I feel like that happens in the music world as well. It is extremely hard to make a living in music. I think you can do it, but I think the worst way to do it is to like build up a few months of buffer and try to just go all in,
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you really, I don't know. I mean, I guess you just want to keep your day job. Yeah. Because things may not take off as quickly as you'd like them to. Hopefully they take off at all. You were interviewing somebody else who had said that, and I think he was quoting Bill Gates, which is funny because you just mentioned him. But he said, you overestimate what you can do in a year, but underestimate what you can do in 5 years. And that's sort of, it's a little bit like not exactly what we're talking about here, but it's kind of like, I mean, you don't want to plan that you're going to make it. You want to plan that you're not going to make it, but hope that you will.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. And that's what people told me when I was trying to go to school, when I was trying to become a doctor. It's like, it's extremely difficult to do that. And people told me, hope that you make it, but plan for if you don't make it. What are you going to do if you don't become a doctor, if you fail a class or something like that? And, thank God, I studied really hard and I didn't fail any classes, and I got through it all. And now I'm here. But I think, I mean, just to kind of tell on, because I don't want to sound like, I'm not a super famous DJ, so I have to do this other thing. because like I said, I mean, most people would assume and I think I'm a pretty successful musician. I'm not touring the world yet, but I plan to. In fact, I just signed on with an agency, a new agency, and hopefully I will be touring pretty soon.
So how do you balance that and work then?
Like I said at the beginning, it's just a lot of begging for time off.
That's right. Yeah.
No, but even then, I mean, I work during the week, and the weekends I have off. So I can, go DJ on like a Friday and Saturday. Thursdays are a little tough, but, every once in a while I can probably do it. And then, it's really it's Friday and Saturday that are really the party nights anyway. So I think it's pretty doable with a job that's, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. If you work on the weekends, yeah, it's a little different. And I don't really have a good solution for that. But, it kind of works for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Noah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Glad to have you on for a second time. Do you have any last words of advice for the listeners?
Just keep working at music, man. Just keep working at it. If you get writer's block, take a little break, but make sure you come back to it. I know that we talked about kind of things that you might not make it, or, you need to keep your day job, whatever. Don't think that I'm saying, and I said this in the last interview, but I want to make it very crystal clear that I'm not saying that you can't follow your dreams. I'm saying that you most certainly should. I'm also saying that you need to plan for the worst. You need to plan for an outcome where you're not a musician. Because it is really, really tough. It is a cutthroat world. It's a lot of who you know, not how good you can produce. So if you don't know the right people, things can be much more difficult than you had originally anticipated. So a second thing I would say, I guess, is go socialize. Don't spend all your time in the studio. Like I said, the bare minimum is for you to be able to write music. You need to do more than that. So get out there, go meet people, go say hi to the promoters at the club. If you don't know any of them, go introduce yourself. They're really cool people. They are people. Like, they want to meet other people out there. That's why they're putting on these events. So, go to look at who is throwing the party, go buy tickets, bring your friends, and then, try and find out who the main promoter is, or if not the main promoter, maybe somebody lower down the chain, and just go say hi to them. You can ask even the people that work at the club, who's running this show, and they might point them out to you. Just go up and introduce yourself. Say hi. I'm Noah Neiman. I'm a producer. I really appreciate you putting on these parties. I'd like to DJ for you, if you can DJ. And a lot of times they're looking for people like that. They might, want you to help out with promoting. Like, they might have you pass out flyers and stuff. And if you're starting out, I mean, that's kind of what you have to do. But, I think it's really important for you to go out there and meet people, and not just, lock yourself away in the studio and type away at your keyboard and mouse and MIDI controller.